Right, it's 2019,
says the average
the 3rd of
petrol rose by 2p per litre in March to £1.23,
the 3rd of
while diesel was up by nearly a penny to £1.31. A freak hail and snowstorm caused a 24-vehicle pile-up on a motorway
Nick
in
Ferrari's
Lancashire
on the
last
radio,
night.
LBC.
It closed part of the M55 between Preston and Blackpool for a time. There were no serious injuries. Fulham have been relegated from the Premier League after just one season back in the top flight. Their 4-1 defeat at Watford last night confirmed their drop to the Championship. Manchester United lost 2-1 at Wolves. The LBC Markets report the FTSE 100 has just reopened at 73.91 after closing up 73 points yesterday, and the pound buys $1.31 and €1.17. LBC weather: sunshine and heavy showers for most, with hail, thunder and some hill snow, becoming cloudier
Nick
with
Ferrari
rain across
is on the
Scotland,
radio.
Northern Ireland and the north of England, a high of 9 degrees.
LBC
From Global's newsroom
is
for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
03 a.m. 3 minutes past.
It's worth £129, but you can get one on us when you get BT Superfast Fibre Essential. Imagine that, working with a hub that's more powerful than other big providers. Superfast Fibre Essential is $29.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. Join by 25th of April and get a Google Home on us. Search BT Broadband. BT. Be there. Prices may change. New customers to verify see bt.com/smartup. $37.99 for month 19. Terms apply.
I'm in Pine Martin Close.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Good morning. 4 minutes after 8 on Wednesday, the 3rd of April. How to bring back together a disunited kingdom. We'll look at that, not least as leavers on the line try to bring trains to a standstill, according to news yesterday. Meanwhile, in other news, the shocking number of young people who are treated each day in hospitals up and down the country as a result of knife wounds. Of course, most prevalent in cities such as Birmingham and in London, where, in London, the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, has been able to spend an extraordinary amount of money on his culture budget.
As children are being stabbed in the streets, why has the Mayor of London nearly doubled his culture spending? I'm LBC's Matthew Thompson with the details.
Plus, as I've mentioned before, the idea that lower prison terms, 12 months and below, should be scrapped. Here's a former convict turned criminology lecturer.
A short sentence serves no purpose. There's no time to engage people in any purposeful activity. Any education on offer is low level.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Perhaps a gesture towards unity, a united kingdom. Jeremy Corbyn now meeting with Theresa May, presumably at some point today, in an attempt to break the Brexit deadlock. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. As I described yesterday, I don't need to go through it all again. I was a reluctant leaver. I just didn't think the European project, was going in the right way. Had I known on that fateful day those years ago that by putting my cross in a certain box, I'd be letting Jeremy Corbyn close to power, I don't know that I'd have voted the way I did. You might have views like that as well. If you'd known now, if you were a fervent leaver, or if you were probably about time, not quite the direction I wanted to go in. If you'd known that Mr. Corbyn was now almost getting his hands on the levers of power, would you still have voted leave? And what of the extraordinary divisions? Many people have talked about this before, but there would seem to be a clear example of the problems that we face now, as Brexit supporters left two crude but malicious devices on railway lines designed to bring the network to a standstill. We looked at this briefly in the first hour. There was a device found in Cambridgeshire with a cable and two bulldog clips with the message "Government betrayal. Leave means leave. We will bring this country to its knees if we don't leave." That was discovered towards the end of last month, and a few days after that a second was discovered at Netherfield in Nottinghamshire. British Transport Police said that they were intended to cause disruption. The saboteurs had risked their lives to plant them. Now, a politically motivated attack on infrastructure such as the railway network would fit the definition of a terrorist incident. Transport Police, though, say it will not be treated as this. Without giving too much away, experts say track circuit clips are used to short the line-side circuit, overriding the signalling system, and in turning nearby signals to danger. This would stop the train from passing. They're usually used by engineers working on the line to ensure that lights are kept to red. So you can see there's a considerable concern for the safety of people on those lines, and although you have views on it, people would want to implement them and put these packages in place. So how would we become a united kingdom again? Suzanne Evans is with Leave Us for Britain and joins me now. How divided is the nation as you see it? Good morning.
It's horribly divided. The whole reason that Leave Us for Britain was set up was because people who voted Leave felt they weren't able to say so in their families.
You are the Suzanne Evans I thought you were, aren't you? Are you the UKIP?
I'm sorry.
You're the Suzanne Evans.
UKIP.
Yeah, of course. I recognise your voice now. Yes, so you're a UKIP heavy hitter. Yes, indeed. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, so Leave Us for Britain was set up precisely because the country was divided after the vote, and the people who lost, the Remain camp, really went for Leave Us in a big way, calling us stupid, calling us thick, calling us bigots, saying we didn't care about the country, and so on and so forth. And we've heard so many stories about people who voted Leave unable to say so in their workplaces, even in their families around the dinner table. So we set up Leave Us for Britain precisely to help Leavers to make new friends if they lost friends that voted Remain. And I lost a couple myself, despite being, as you say, very prominent in the Brexit campaign. People knew exactly what I stood for. I had friends who were saying, oh, good on you, stand up for what you believe. But then the moment Leave won the referendum, suddenly I was an evil witch, and what was I going to do when they lost their jobs? Would I pay their mortgage? So on and so forth. So right from the word go, it was very nasty and very divided. And it hasn't got any better. And
why hasn't it got any better?
Because the negotiations have gone so badly wrong from the word go. Theresa May, has lied and lied and lied. Over 100 times she said we'd be leaving on the 29th of March. Umpteen times, over 50 times, I think she said directly in Parliament, no deal is better than a bad deal. Now she's saying we're not going to leave without a deal. She has been the worst Prime Minister of my lifetime. I can't remember anyone so duplicitous, so dreadful, so unable to have any courage of conviction in her country. And she's made things worse. She's stoking the flames of rebellion. I saw somebody on Twitter today saying, I am so angry. Does this woman want a civil uprising? Because she and her parliament are tearing up the social contract, the first principle that our government will secure our natural rights and operate in our best interest in return for us following the law.
I appreciate...
She made a mockery of the whole thing.
I appreciate these may well not be members of your association, Leavers of Britain, but some of them are pretty ugly crowd, aren't they? Pretty ugly crowd if they're prepared to disrupt the rail network, aren't they, Leavers?
Yeah, I understand people's frustration. I don't think that's the way to go about it. Let me be very clear about that.
They're an ugly crowd, aren't they, if they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I understand people's frustration. We have seen now, Nick, that the ballot box doesn't work anymore. We had the biggest democratic exercise in history. More people voted to leave the European Union. More people turned to vote out for the referendum than any other democratic exercise in British history. And the result has been ridiculed by the establishment. They didn't like it. They promised they'd implement what we decided, and now they have bent over backwards to make damn sure we stay in the European Union. So what are people supposed to do? Decent people
hold on. Respectfully, Suzanne Evans, they're not meant to put devices on the railways.
Well, I'm not. As I said, I don't think that's the right way to go.
No, right.
But what do decent people like me do who feel that they've been shafted by our own government and our own parliament? The ballot box doesn't work anymore. So what do we do?
Suzanne Evans, you've helped set up Leave Us for Britain. You're a spokesperson for that. Good to hear from you again. Thank you. 12 after 8. Listening to that, Tom Baldwin, who's Director of Communication of the People's Vote campaign. How do you see any sort of unity being returned? Good morning.
Hello. I think we all accept and recognise that Britain is a very, very divided country. I think it's divided before the 2016 referendum, and it still is now. The question is really this: will leaving with a bad deal that makes people poorer heal those divisions? Will leaving with a deal that cannot...
Well, we don't know it makes... I just have to say there's a lot of indications that it'll make people poor. Nobody actually knows in reality.
True. I mean, the Treasury, which is in favour of the deal, says that this current deal will make Britain £100 billion a year poorer.
Yeah, I know. Nobody actually...
That's the government's figures. Yeah. Those are the government's figures about the government's own deal. But anyway, look, most economists think that a bad deal like the one we've got, will make Britain poorer. What we all know, I think, is there's no deal which can possibly satisfy all the expectations of Brexit from 2016 or meet all the promises made, because a lot of them are contradictory. And I don't think really leaving with a deal like this...
You're not seriously going to say in summary then that the people's vote doing it all again is the way to bring back a United Kingdom? It may be the way to put the deal right, but it's not going to make a United Kingdom, is it, Mr. Baldwin?
Well, I think that, I think the last referendum helped reinforce those divisions.
So doing it again will make it better?
Well, let me try and answer your question. I think a new referendum which recognises there is a deep desire for change, and so it's like we're going to really try and tackle the causes of Brexit, but not give people something which, a kind of Brexit which is going to disappoint, frustrate, dismay, disillusion millions of people. That is not a way to heal these divisions.
So what are you going to ask then? What are you going to ask?
What should be the question in the people's vote? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think what's important is that one of the reasons why so much division about this now is that in the last referendum you had a real thing, staying in the European Union, which has been critiqued for 30 years. Indeed,
but can we look forward, Mr. Baldwin? What is the question? But what is the question? My goodness me, you're Director of Communications for the People's Vote. You must have an idea of what the question is going to be. I'm not asking for the precise wording.
Nick, I'm trying to answer your question. You keep jumping in. So the problem with the last referendum was a real thing, staying in the European Union, up against the unicorn. The next referendum...
Here we go. So just the essence of your question.
The next referendum, Nick, needs to be a real thing versus a real thing. It's got to be a specific Brexit proposal on the table. It can't be a unicorn with lots of promises which can't be met.
And that's the way to put the country together?
It's the start of it, because you have to have a chance for people to...
And what would you say to the Leavers who voted almost 3 years ago, who will feel that they were denied? What would you say to them?
I think whatever happens, if we go ahead with Brexit, you're going to have millions of people, Leavers and Remainers, deeply frustrated, bitterly disillusioned with the result.
I'm grateful for your time. Tom Baldwin, your Director of Communications, the People's Vote campaign. Is that the way to bring around unity? It's fascinating figures in the Times today, showing how many people, what percentage of the electorate is a member of a political... What do you suppose the percentage of the electorate is that's actually a member of a political party? The number is extraordinarily small, and I will share it with you after this one. And we'll also be looking at the idea of abolishing sentences of less than 12 months in prison. 8:15 LBC News headlines, Simon Conway.
Talks between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn aimed at finding a consensus on Brexit are expected to begin today. The move has angered Tory Eurosceptics. A teenager has been charged with the murder of a man who was stabbed while driving in South London last week. Ministers are being urged to consider abolishing prison sentences of under a year in England and Wales. LBC weather, a mixture of sunshine and heavy showers for most, a high of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Still delays of about half an hour on the M11 southbound to junction 7 at Harlow, and that was after an accident that happened earlier. Delays on the M25 clockwise to junction 5 at the M26, and that was after an accident as well. All the lanes are now back open. Very busy southbound to the Rotherhithe Tunnel after a car broke down earlier, and there's been an accident on the A40 westbound at Swakeleys, and there are delays all the way back from Hillingdon.
LBC.
Plusnet know your life doesn't stop when the adverts come on. It's all blah blah bargains and best blah blah ever while you make the tea and do the crossword. But if you can spare just 9 seconds for the important bit, get Plusnet fixed price broadband and line rental today and help yourself to a £60 reward card. For all our great value broadband deals, search Plusnet broadband now. That's it, back to 6 across. Plusnet will do you proud. Offer ends 9th of April, 12-month contract, new customers in low-cost areas only, £5 activation fee, reward card claim by email, and within 2 months, terms apply, visit plus.net.
Call Nick Ferrari now, 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Is your company planning to move to a new office within the next year? Do you want new IT, audiovisual, networks and phone systems to perform better than in your current building? Do you need independent help designing latest generation technology for your office space, meeting rooms, or data center? At Coleman Bennett, we have successfully completed more than 400 corporate relocations, so you can trust Coleman Bennett to enable your new office on time and on budget. Search Coleman Bennett today.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea, and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at
So I'm going in a
And
second.
Soldo connects
No, it's all right.
seamlessly with Zero.
I'm sick.
A
I'm
win-win
I'm
for
going in
you
a second.
and your business.
Sorry if I'm bothering
Find
you.
out more at soldo.com. If you have high blood
10 o'clock to park on
Oh,
the
I'll be
side.
gone by then. I'll be gone.
No, don't worry.
I've got to go work.
That's all right then.
Okay.
Because that's the reason why I was coming.
Yeah, okay, I'll be gone in a minute.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning anyway. Have a nice morning.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing.
Procedure to lower blood pressure and potentially reduce or eliminate the need for blood pressure medications. To learn more, please visit www.bpstudy.org.uk. That's www.bpstudy.org.uk. Is she checking me out? Surely not. Here we go. She's coming over. Play it cool, Josh. Play it cool.
Excuse me, you dropped your card?
Some mornings just call for a sausage and egg McMuffin. Breakfast served until 10:30 a.m. To find the truth, you wouldn't listen to just one voice. You wouldn't believe just one story. Or trust just one opinion. And neither would we. The Week magazine reviews all the issues of our day and where everyone stands on them. Sign up online and try 6 issues for free. Search The Week magazine today. After all, you shouldn't make up your mind on just one issue. Cancel anytime during the free period or continue with 13 issues for just £40.49.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Zero, helping small businesses see their finances clearly.
The way to solve it all is possibly another people's vote, is possibly, of course, to honour the result of the referendum. Which would you say? Grant in Sheffield. Hello, Grant, you're on the radio. What are you going to tell me? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Yeah, I completely agree. Remain. The outdated opinion of Leave is exactly that, outdated. 2.5 years old. And
But how does that change? You can always have that argument. I mean, that argument, we better have this every 3 years then, do we?
Okay, so I voted to Leave.
Yeah.
And I think I was probably uninformed as to what the outcome was going to look like. And if it was going to look like this, for example, I'm going to be going on holiday shortly. I'm not getting as many euros as I was.
No, I'm afraid you won't. No.
All sorts of things like that, which are, really, really scary points. And, now we've got Theresa May collaborating with Jeremy Corbyn. He's edging closer to power. I don't agree with his marketing tactics where he, throws out things like, I'll increase the minimum living wage to £10 an hour and things like that.
No, I agree. But do you honestly... So you think we do it again? Is that what you're saying, Grant? To help?
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you're a fervent Leaver, you're not going to bring back a united country by having another referendum. You're just going to think, what's the point of voting, aren't you?
No, I'd agree, but there was people, certain political parties that were advertising the wrong information about the NHS and things like that. And,
yeah.
You
can say that on both sides though, because remember, by now George Osborne said we'd have had at least one austerity budget, otherwise we'd all be hanging in rags. So much as we wonder what we were told about the NHS, we wonder what we were told if we were vote Leave. And I think a lot of people are told we can't crash out, we can't fall over a cliff because it'll be the end. I think, well, hold on. It was going to be the end before we actually Brexited. In the interregnum, in the period between the actual referendum vote and the date of Brexit, we'd have one, possibly 2 austerity budgets, and actually we haven't. And growth, although it's not sensational, is actually running higher than the rest of the Eurozone. So this is why people find it so difficult.
But all this uncertainty there, you just don't know. It's like, what do we don't know what's going to happen to the housing market, we don't know what's going to happen to the economy. For me, as a man who's just in his late 20s, and I'm just sort of getting onto the property ladder, I don't know what's going to happen to the economy. It's really quite scary. So I think all this uncertainty isn't worth isn't worth the vote that I put forward 2.5 years ago. And as I say, it was 2.5 years ago. I think a lot of people like me have had time to sit and think about the decision they made then. And,
right.
You
want to do it again? Good luck with your holiday. I know, I'm afraid you won't get anything like as many euros. Have a safe one. 8:22. I said before the news headlines, I found it extraordinary. There's a good piece in the Times. I tell you, a recent poll showed only 8% claim to have a strong affiliation with any major political party. In the same poll, 40% identify with either their Remain or Leave position. That's getting on for half the country. So 8%, yeah, I'm a Conservative, I'm a Lib Dem, I'm a Labour, whatever the hell I'm. 40%, I am Leave, I am Remain. Back in 1983, which is quite a long way ago, isn't it really? More than a quarter of a century ago, 4% of the electorate was a member of a political party. This is where you pay your annual subscriptions or fees. What do you suppose, and this is across both parties, by the way. The membership of the Conservative Party is 124,000 people. The way we're headed, they will decide the next Prime Minister. 124,000 people.
Sorry?
Out of a population.
No, I'm okay here, please. I'm okay here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going in any second now.
So they don't get a vote.
No, I've got a
What are we
flask.
going to say? 45 million adults, I guess, roughly.
Whatever
40.
you want, if you ask
So
me,
40,
I could
let's be
have
really
given you
conservative
more
with the small
Fish and
scale.
chips.
40 million
Fish and
people.
chips.
I could have given you more information
The
than you
next
think.
leader of the
All right.
Conservative
Because
Party,
of
and
my
where we
knee,
find
I've
ourselves
always
currently,
had
Prime Minister will be
And
chosen
I
by
know everything going on.
124,000 people. I can't even work that equation out. 124,000 people choose the leader of this country. Okay, so now you say, what about Labour? They've got just under 400,000 members, which is obviously much healthier than Conservatives. But the actual percentage of the electorate that's a member of a political party is 1.6. And it has never been so low in the history of this country. My friend, Pandora's box has been opened here, because this sort of level of fury, whether you're an angry Remainer or you're a frustrated Leaver or the other way around, frustrated, I don't care what you say, that will never ever go away. These people will always have to find a source for their rage, whether it be cycle lanes, the environment, gluing your hands and taking your bra off and gluing your hands to the House of Commons, or whatever it might be. You'll always have to have a sense of this rage, I would suggest. And 124,000 people to just decide the future of the country. I mean, that's vanishingly thin percentage. Janet's in Isha. Janet, is the way to unite, what is the way to unite the country, I should say? Good morning.
Well, not what Theresa May has done. And congratulations, Nick. Never a truer word, you said. What can a Marxist, anti-Semite bring to the table? And it's another one of Theresa May's misjudgments. And quite frankly, it's been a series of miscalculations and mishaps.
Yep.
If Michael Gove hadn't stabbed Boris in the back, we might have had him as a competent leader now.
When you say him, do you mean Mr. Johnson or Mr. Gove?
Mr. Johnson.
Right, okay.
And the other day, when I put somebody suggested Michael Gove as a new leader. I've never had so many yes, you're right on my Facebook when I called him, what was it, a tree-hugging stabber in the back.
Oh dear, is that where you're, Janet? Okay, thank you for that. Just to say, Mr. Corbyn, of course, himself says that he's not an anti-Semite. There are issues in the party that he's keen to address with the party hierarchy, and certainly I think it's fair to say that anti-Semites are attracted to his party, but he himself says he's not an anti-Semite. Janet, we'll talk again soon, 8:26. I've got someone hanging on the line for a long time to talk about this other matter, which is, I've mentioned a couple of times, dears, ministers should consider abolishing prison terms of 12 months or below to help ease the enduring safety crisis behind bars. Justice Secretary David Gauke is looking at the possibility of scrapping jail terms of 6 months or less, except if it's for violent and sexual offences, and it's backed in a new report from the Justice Select Committee. Steve Gillen is General Secretary of the Prison Officers Association, joins me now. Thank you for hanging on the line, Mr. Gillen. Apologies getting to you a little late. What impact would this have for the men and women who you work with? Good morning.
Well, Nick, to be honest with you, I've got a great deal of respect for Bob Neal and the Justice Select Committee, and I've read their report, and yes, absolutely, and I'm still digesting their report. But on this specific issue, I would simply say sentence length is for the judiciary, not politicians. Very simple for me. Politicians should not be meddling in reducing sentences. It should be totally independent and left for the judiciary. No one really mentions victims of crime. Will the general public have confidence in this?
Well, what do you think? You are both General Secretary of the POA and you're a member of the public, Mr. Gillan. Would you have confidence in it?
No, I wouldn't, to be honest with you. I think any sort of blanket legislative framework in this is doomed to disaster because it takes away the judges' and magistrates' independence totally. Every case should be judged on its own individual merits, and if someone deserves to go to prison for 6 months or 12 months, then that should simply be the case. Otherwise, we could be in a position, if this legislation comes in, which I don't think it will in actual fact, because we can't even sort the mess of Brexit out, so I've got no confidence.
I couldn't believe you, Steve, you're going to get Brexit into this conversation.
Well, imagine that. Imagine that.
Hey, just lastly, while I've got you on the line, tell me about this enduring safety crisis behind bars. This is for the men and women you work with, and indeed for the inmates, is it not?
Well, absolutely. We've been talking about this since 2010, and I'm glad that the Justice Select Committee have said that the current approach by government is inefficient, ineffective and unsustainable. That endorses everything that we've been saying for the last 9 years, quite frankly. It's in crisis. It's in a crisis because of the lack of funding. And to suggest that the answer to this is further cost-cutting by reducing sentences, I don't think the general public will have any confidence. My members won't have any confidence, and quite rightly, I think it should be shelved.
I will leave it there, Steve Gillan. Thank you. You're General Secretary of the Prison Officers Association, 829. Take a quick call on this. Liam is in the Midlands. Liam, what do you want to tell me? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ferrari.
Hello, sir.
I was just calling regarding the abolition of short-term prison sentences.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If I look at my own situation, where I recently received a 200-hour community service order and 18-month suspended sentence, I think you have to look at the wider implications of what a short-term prison sentence would have. So in my case, it would have been losing my job, losing my car, losing my home. My wife's pregnant with our first.
Right.
Those are all stabilising factors.
Right.
If we consider somebody that's possibly in a...
What did you do, Liam?
Situation. So it was, I was charged with GBH without intent. So effectively, I was at an event over the summer.
Yeah.
And I've thrown a glass at someone.
Okay.
And rightly so, I've been charged. I've been punished for that.
Yes.
The journey that I'm on currently, I've been taking notes throughout the process. First session of doing community unpaid work, we've got 75% of the guys are reoffenders. Last session I did, 80% of the guys are reoffenders.
Right.
We look at the cost of actually having someone in prison. So low-level crimes such as myself, you'd be looking at the cost of probably about 30k per year.
Yes.
Now I've got a career, I've got an education. Some of these guys and girls, have literally got nothing. Why wouldn't we take that 30k, find these guys a tutor, commit these guys to get a proper qualification, commit these guys to a
only reason when we're going a bit late to the news, but let me ask you this, and I can tell that you regret the error of your ways, and credit to you, sir, but in other instances, why should someone who breaks the law, albeit on a low level, why should she get a mentor when some poor soul who's observed the law and is struggling to get work, they don't? Explain the fairness of that.
The world's not a fair place, Nick.
Well, that's fair enough, isn't it, Liam? I can't really argue with that.
and do you want to turn these people? It's like if you look.
Yeah, but I want to look after, and I say I can hear the regret in your voice, but I want to look after the bloke who lives the other side of the street from you, who's also is in a bad place, but who hasn't broken the law. And I don't know why you get a mentor and he doesn't. I don't mean you personally, but I'm using it as
and I get that, but I think we just have to look at society and where it's going, and it certainly means that after I've completed my sentence, I want to go into schools and I want to talk to vulnerable kids, because decisions people make will have massive effects on the rest of their lives.
Look after yourself, look after the family, Liam. Thank you. There's someone who really has seen the error of his ways. Coming up after the news.
As children are being stabbed in the streets, why has the Mayor of London nearly doubled his culture spending? I'm LBC's Matthew Thompson with the details.
Yeah, truly extraordinary story coming up. It's 8:32 now, LBC News headlines, then Simon Conway.
The Prime Minister is expected to meet Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn later after inviting him for talks to find a breakthrough on Brexit. Theresa May's move has angered some Leave-supporting MPs, though, who fear it'll result in a softer Brexit. A man from Birmingham has been charged with the murder of a 29-year-old man who was stabbed in southwest London last month. Nathaniel Armstrong, who was attacked in Fulham, was a cousin of TV weather presenter Alex Beresford. The regional airline Flybe has cancelled dozens of flights across the UK this morning, blaming operational reasons. Services from Belfast, Birmingham, Edinburgh and Southampton are among those affected. The carrier hasn't given any details as to what's causing the problems. LBC weather, sunshine and heavy showers for most, with hail, thunder and some hill snow, becoming cloudier with rain across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the north of England, a high of 9 degrees.
James O'Brien, Monday to Friday from 10 a.m.
What we have seen in this country for 30 years is a complete corruption of the free media, because the only way an outsider can make sense of what happened in June 2016 is by looking through this cavalcade of cons, and that's the only way you can get your head around it.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea, and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Zero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
The Google Home is an amazing smart speaker. It's worth £129, but you can get one on us when you get BT Superfast Fibre Essential. Imagine that, working with a hub that's more powerful than other big providers. Superfast Fibre Essential is $29.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. Join by 25th of April and get a Google Home on us. Search BT Broadband. BT, be there.
Prices may change. New customers to verify see bt.com/smart. $37.99 for month 19. Terms apply.
You're here. The CEO is ready for you. You've got 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Mark. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Mark. Whenever you're ready.
Honeycakes calling. Honeycakes calling.
You're going to get that.
Some mornings just call for a sausage and egg McMuffin. Breakfast served until 10:30 a.m.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
Hi there, I'm Jill from Network Rail with some important news if you're travelling over Easter and the early May bank holiday. As part of ongoing work to improve the railways, we're carrying out essential rail upgrades across different parts of the UK. From Friday the 19th to Monday the 22nd of April, and from Saturday the 4th until Monday the 6th of May. This means some services will change and some won't be running. To keep your plans on track, make sure to check before you travel at nationalrail.co.uk/Easter.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Zero, accounting software for beautiful business.
8:36 the time. How to make a United Kingdom. Back to that in a moment. Now, aside from Brexit, the story that's high on the news agenda, and quite rightly too, is the issue and crisis of knife crime. Indeed, a summit was held. It started on Monday, which was attended by, among others, the Prime Minister and the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who subsequently took to the airwaves to say that he had problems over the funding and talked of central government budgetary cuts for causes and the problems of tackling the issues of knife crime. It's not the first time. You've probably heard him on LBC say on a number of occasions he doesn't have the resources. But is that entirely true? An LBC investigation has found some questionable spending by Mayor Khan. Matthew Thompson, LBC's Matthew Thompson, joins from City Hall with the details. Matthew.
Good morning, Nick. That's right. We've looked into it. And would you believe that whilst the knife crime epidemic engulfs London, culture spending under this mayor has nearly doubled since 2016 when he took office. It's an increase of £11.4 million, which we've done some fag packet calculations, Nick, would pay the salaries of about 380 new police officers. And some of the things that money is being spent on is, as you say, questionable to say the least. Sadiq Khan spent £90,000 on 2 speed dating events for film producers, game designers and financiers. He spent £50,000 to make the film industry more diverse, and money was also spent on a mentoring scheme for young fashion designers, although the Mayor's office wouldn't tell us exactly how much. Now, no one's suggesting, Nick, that spending money on culture isn't valuable, but it's a question of priorities. And Chris Hobbs is a former Met Police officer and Special Branch detective.
I'm quite surprised to see where some of the budgets has gone in terms of culture and speed dating events for designers. So when I hear that money's being spent on other, perhaps less essential services, for want of a better word, it is quite disturbing. At the end of the day, we have a crisis in policing in London, and I think that needs to be a priority where the Mayor's budget needs to be spent.
Now, a couple of days ago, the Mayor of London, as you mentioned at the beginning, Nick, was doing interviews on Theresa May's Knife Crime Summit held at Number 10, and I took the opportunity to put some of this to him directly.
Those are one-off expenditures. What does it lead to? We have a situation where our cultural economy in London contributes £52 billion to our economy each year. The cultural sector is growing twice as fast as any other sector in our economy. At the time we got Brexit, one of the jobs I've got to do...
Kids are dying on the streets.
Well, I've got a statutory responsibility to promote our city. We've got a situation where, as a consequence of cuts of £1 billion, not £7 million, £1 billion, we've seen massive cuts in police officers, in community support officers, and in police staff. In my first 3 years as Mayor, I've diverted towards policing from business rates more monies than the previous Mayor did in the 8 years put together.
So there you have it, Nick. Central government cuts have been deep. No one's denying that, and the Mayor isn't wrong to point it out. But allocating money is always a political choice, and Sadiq Khan can defend his choices, but he can't say that his hands are completely tied when it comes to police funding.
Matthew Thompson reporting from City Hall. Thanks for that, Matthew. And I have no doubt the Mayor feels it just as keenly as any of us. A number of young people and others being stabbed on London streets. But we've got money for speed dating. Gareth Bacon is leader of the Conservative GLA group and obviously Conservative member of the London Assembly. Are you holding the Mayor to account over this? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, we are. I think your reporter summed it up very well. The Mayor has choices, and he has chosen to spend money on things other than police officers. What your reporter didn't mention is that he's increased the staffing budget at City Hall by 52% since he joined.
But what do they do? Are they working, trying to solve problems in knife areas? What are those 52?
No, they're not.
They're not.
They're doing all sorts of other things. We have so many staff now that we have to rent office space in other places because we can't fit them all into City Hall.
Why aren't you shouting this from the rooftops, Mr. Bacon?
We are shouting from the rooftops. We put a budget amendment down to his budget in March, in late February, that would have taken some of this money away from some of the other areas of discretionary spend and would have put enough in for 1,400 additional police officers, which could go on the streets as soon as you can hire them. The Mayor refused to do it because he said that it was more important that we had things like water fountains installed around London. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, all of this stuff that he's spending money on, I'm sure it's all worthy stuff, but as your reporter said, at a time where you have violent crimes running out of control and people being killed on a daily basis, and you say you don't have enough...
Not quite on it. I mean, it is great, but not... I mean, thank God it's not, but I hear what you say. Certainly being stabbed on a daily basis, yes.
Yeah. We had 4 over the weekend in Edmonton.
Yeah, not fake. You said being killed, of course, Mr. Bacon. I just need to clarify that. We're not losing one a day, thank the Lord.
No, quite. Yes, thankfully we're not. Yes. But, I mean, last year I think we had 131, I think was the total. This year so far it's 22 fatalities.
Yes.
And knife crime, violence and knife crime is happening all the time. And the Mayor says that that's primarily because he hasn't got enough police officers to keep London safe. Well, he could be just moving comparatively small amounts of money of his budget and generating significant numbers more officers. And he's not doing it.
Gareth Bacon, keep shouting from the rooftops, many would argue. You're leader of the Conservative GLA group. Thank you for coming on the show. 8:41, back to Brexit. Well, back to a disunited United Kingdom and how to make it united. Ben in Wiltshire, right. I'm a balanced Leave voter. What a shambles. I laugh at my own notion of voting Leave for the sake of UK democracy and sovereignty.